Energy will become a top-tier topic at this year's election, with households now facing that 9% spike in their energy bills. Labor's promise of a $275 power price cut is now ballooning to an almost $1,000 added expense in one of the great missed election pledges. And it doesn't end there. He put that miss down to coal. But coal is still doing the heaviest lifting. Joining us live now is National Senator Bridget McKenzie and the Independent MP Zali Steggall. Good morning to you both. Zali, to you first. When the Energy Regulator says low solar and wind output are part of the problem, do you think this helps your hard position on renewables?
Well, I think you can't cherry pick the data you like to mention there.
That's part of it, though.
Well, yes, sure, but the reality is Angus Power bears great responsibility in failing to fast-track more renewable energy into the pipeline to make up for the coal-fired power stations that are becoming more and more unreliable and that are shutting down because they're at end of life. So the reality is we don't have a fast enough rollout of large-scale renewable to ensure that supply. And we end up relying on the most expensive form of energy with gas. So the way Australians can reduce their power bills is buy less, right? Rely more and more on your own rooftop and buy less from the market, and then these hikes will not impact you. So the urgency is for the budget to roll out much greater scale support for households to put rooftop solar and batteries.
Why is your answer to build more renewables when they don't work half the time?
Well, because with respect, that is not correct. They are 46% of the grid already so far. They are by far the most cheap form of energy. So with respect, if you want to have cheaper energy, you have to form the cheapest form. We are through renewable energy, through onshore wind, large-scale solar, rooftop for households. Offshore wind will play a huge part for industry to minimise the reliance on the most expensive form, which is gas. Now, it's all fine and well, and Bridget can interrupt if she wants, but she has no plan. Their plan is to rely on the most unreliable form, which is coal-fired power stations, for the next 10 to 15 years. So with respect, come up with a decent plan or you really have no credibility in this discussion.
OK. Go, Bridget.
Well, I mean, you just heard it first here on Stefanovic. A teal Labor minority government will be rolling out those offshore wind farms up and down the east coast of Australia if Zali and her girlfriends get their seat at the table in a minority government. You've also heard Zali complain that Australians are going to have to use less energy. That means poorer. The rate of energy use right across human history is related to increased prosperity. So I didn't interrupt you, Zali. Please don't do the same thing. Do not do that. I let you have your whole say. When we look at businesses going bust, energy price increases are a key component. And the 100% renewable plan, favoured by Labor, favoured by the Teals, wanting to be skyrocketed by the Teals, is about intermittent power. And you cannot have your grid reliant on power that is not stable, that does not have that baseload supply, which is exactly what Zali's saying. So it's okay if you just want to turn the toaster on occasionally, but you cannot run production lines of our heavy industries, our manufacturing base, or indeed our transition of electric vehicles on the type of power that Zali is championing. This is essentially a teal tax, and it's only going to go up in a future teal Labor minority government. Okay. How much are Australians going to have to pay?
All right. Well, I mean, Zali, would you be willing to put a figure on your plan?
Well, I think, hang on a minute, we've just even got to correct just even the verbaling what I even said. I didn't say for people to use less energy. I said that the way they reduce their energy bills is they buy less from the grid because they produce more themselves. That is the transition that needs to happen. And the transition which it beggars belief
doesn't work for
the coalition and the coalition simply do not want to endorse their plan, which is, and at the end of the day, what is your plan? There is no plan for the coalition.
Cheaper. It's 44% cheaper.
Just finish your point, Zali.
There isn't a single expert in the country that believes that rubbish.
Yes.
That
it's not true, Zali.
Document that you rely on relies on nuclear energy being rolled out at a timescale that is simply will not happen, not possible. Not a single expert supports that, and it relies on Australians using less energy. So that very thing you're accusing me of saying, which I didn't even say. So the reality is the only way Australians reduce their power bills is if they buy less from the market and produce more themselves from their own rooftop with rooftop solar. That is by far the way in which we can help Australians, and that should be a priority. That should be multi-partisan, but for some reason you have an absolutely ideological objection to Australians being independent in their own energy production.
I've got 30 seconds left. I have to leave you there, Zali, but
just finish. Factories.
Just finish,
that.
Bridget. Yeah, on 30, 40 seconds.
Yeah, you can't run an industrial economy, Zali, in this sort of utopian universe that you're articulating. You're wanting to run refineries, you're wanting to run smelters, you're wanting to run production lines for our manufacturing goods on solar panels alone. It does not work. The technology is not there. Our plan is 44% cheaper than the 100% renewables and will power our industrial economy into next century with net zero emissions, which you can't say for your or Labor's plan. Emissions are going up.
We will have to leave it there. Yeah, that figure also by the same company that did Labor's costings as well. Zali, Bridget, we've got to leave it there. We will talk to you again soon.